Is that fish?
You're just evil.
What?
And, provincial.
Provincial. Oh, wow. I'm going to have to go look that up. Howdy, folks, and welcome to episode 541 of the Dead Robot Society. I'm Paul E. Cooley, and with me, my veteran, notable wingman who lives in the light, as opposed to me, Mr. Terry Mixon. How the hell are you?
Doing good. If we were dyslexic, we could, have Fahrenheit Dead Robots, because you just swap two of the numbers around.
Fahrenheit Dead Robots.
The novel Fahrenheit 451. So if we, make it 541, see, swap there. Did you get it?
Right. One of these days the clouds are going to stop moving in front of me, and I'll be not have to resort to such
it'll actually manage to autofocus on you. Yeah. That's never going to happen.
Is that not happening either? Yeah, I'm having all sorts of technical difficulties.
That's what it's doing.
Why does this surprise anyone?
It shouldn't.
You see, it's all sunlit behind me and everything else, and yet in here it's dark as pitch. What the hell?
This is a metaphor for Paul's life.
Pretty much.
Right here. Sunny outside, dark on the inside.
Oh, you're so... You get me so well. You get me so well. You complete me, Terry. I love you so much.
And this episode is about going into uncomfortable places.
Hey, at least it wasn't naughty. Never mind. Anyway, how the hell are you, man? What's up?
Hell. Boy, now we're talking.
Disco Stu was talking to you. All right.
Oh, my God.
Come on. What's up?
Oh, good. Productive. Writing things. Chanced across an old style of writing that was very productive for me, and I'm giving it another go around.
Old style of writing?
Because I've got a new kitty. I've got a new kitty because Kitty had to come home from the vet because they were afraid it was going to be euthanized by someone. So they arranged for me to they said, you could just foster it until an opening comes up. Yeah, they know me. I've got cat sucker written on my forehead. So
yes,
new kitty is not going anywhere. So we've got a new cat that is in here in the office with me. And went back to recording with Dragon so that it could hear my voice, because that's very important for Miss Kitty to learn my voice. So I've been reading into Dragon, and the way I've been trying to do it in the past is I was trying to follow someone else's advice and, finish a page or so and then go back and reread it and get everything in there. And rereading is especially important with Dragon because it'll make changes that you don't see.
Right.
You've actually got to read it because it'll be a real word. It just may not be the word you intended it to be.
Yeah, or it's just spelled completely different, pronounced the same way.
Exactly so. But way back when I was doing Scorched Earth, for example, I was using Dragon. And I wrote the entire novel in 23 days. And that's because I didn't go back and reread it. But I've got to do that now because I'm putting stuff out on Patreon. So instead of reading a page or so, I'm just recording whatever I record for the day. And in the evening, I'll go ahead and I'll read a chapter, proofread it, and put it out on Patreon.
Oh.
Not necessarily the whole thing that I'm doing.
Yeah.
But doing that today, I actually got almost 4,000 words written.
Nice.
And it's still in time to, do the show, which is normally, I quit before I normally would have. So it was an exceptionally productive day for me. And that reminded me of how I'd been doing it back with Scorched Earth. Stopping and going back totally destroys my process. It kills my forward momentum. If I go ahead and start doing this where I record whatever I'm going to record for the day, don't worry about the things that I can't see in there. And then just pick the most recent chapter, clean it up, and post it to Patreon. I could still be posting a chapter a day and race ahead on these novels. And I can live with that. That's actually, it never occurred to me that I could do that, but I think it'll work.
Well, it's kind of the same thing as some of the writers that I know who speed write. They misspell a word, they use the wrong word, they don't care, they just keep going. They just hammer through it, don't give a shit. They'll use awkward language, not go back and clean it up, but just to get the scene done. And then go back and do what you're doing, right?
Mhm.
So in this case, that is a first draft. And you are right. You are essentially going back and making a second draft.
I could buy that language. I'll
Yeah.
still have to end up when I'm done reading it again
A
through
third draft
for
for
continuity.
continuity. So you're not a first draft writer. I know
I've
very few
I've never
first
been a
draft
first
writers.
draft writer.
Yeah.
I've never been a first draft writer.
So the editing is actually taking place regardless of the fact that you don't have a plot, that you don't have an outline, rather, I should say.
I was gonna say, I've got a plot. Don't you say those mean things about me.
Yeah. Your stories are plotless and flavorless, like ramen noodles dry.
You are just a Notre Dame.
Oh shit! Do not go there.
Oh, sorry. Too soon?
It's way too soon. So, God, I'm gonna strangle you when we get done with this.
I didn't bring the French accents into this. This
what?
was not my fault.
If I mentioned musical calamities, disasters, or touched on Victor Hugo, then maybe we could jump to Notre Dame just from being French.
No. Too soon is when you see somebody's taking the picture of the Hunchback of Notre Dame from the cartoon and have him singing on the roof going, the roof is on fire.
Oh my God. Poor taste. So freaking poor taste.
And that was the same day that it was burning. It was still on fire when somebody posted that.
Anyway, so you do edit. And
I've always edited.
You've always edited, but you have said things in the past that indicate that you do not, that you actually do.
It depends on how you define edit.
I understand that. I'm just simply saying we should make sure we understand what the fuck it is you're doing. So basically, the voice layer has added an extra read through for you.
It has to. One is it's like a proofreading pass to make sure that things actually look like what I intended them to. The final pass is where I'm expanding a little bit more on what's going on, adding a little bit more detail, correcting things that continuity-wise have gotten screwed up. But I'm having to add an intermediary proof reading sort of layer to counteract what's going on. And it's weird because if you just look at the raw time that it takes to do both of those things, both writing it out just on the keyboard and doing it by voice, I would be getting about the same amount of words in the same amount of period of time.
Even though you have to go add this intermediate step.
Even though I have to go back and add the intermediate stuff. But if I just go ahead and write my way through it without stopping, my word count production shoots way higher.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because I'm not interrupting my own creativity.
Right.
And it's something that I'd forgotten about. And I look forward to trying this again and seeing how it works out. I'm still not going to finish the book before I leave for Napa. That's a week from now.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
I don't see that happening. But it'll be interesting over the next book after this to see if I started off and I'm writing a couple of chapters, say a chapter and a half a day. By the time I'm most of the way done with this book, I'll still be 6 or 7, 8, 10 chapters behind in what I'm posting to Patreon. And so even if I miss a day, that'll give me a little bit of cushion. If I look at it and say, I keep obsessing about schedules. I say, I need to be more productive. I need to get books done faster. And then I look at doing it this way. If I'm doing a chapter a day to Patreon, if I race ahead in the beginning and I'm still being more productive than what I put out, then it's still going to be 34, 36, 38 chapters would be around the time frame that I'd actually like to have this book done in. So it actually works out that way. We'll see if that holds up in practice.
Yeah, we'll see. We shall see.
There's a problem that we as writers face.
There's only one.
There's plenty, but there's one in particular that I'm talking about, and that's we're always told to re-examine our process, and sometimes we leave a process that works for one that doesn't, and we don't realize we've lost something, and we can't figure out what we've done, what changed.
You changed.
I don't know that that's the case. I had a blast writing Scorched Earth. It just literally flew out of me. There was one day that I wrote 12,000 words in that story. And somehow when I finished it, I tried something else and I lost the process. I forgot what worked and tried something else. Sometimes you've got to be satisfied with, oh gosh, you know, it only took me less than a month to write that story. I should be fucking satisfied with that. Sometimes you just can't improve something. Just accept it.
I think there's a danger of overheating anyway, because one thing I've always been worried about that is the it takes a while for a plot to come together in my head as I go through it. So if I wrote something that fast, I think I might skip over something that's vitally important later and just have to rewrite it anyway. So
ironically, writing that story that fast, it clicked together for me better than any other story that I've written.
Well, when I go and write a first book again, if that ever fucking happens, I think things will be different than they have been with Derelict in the Black. Because when we talked about this before, there's all this continuity bullshit that can just basically wrap around your neck and strangle you if you're not careful. So having the limitations of that on top of you, as well as trying to figure out how to do what you're trying to do, especially when you have the end game in mind, it can kind of take a while to figure out exactly what you need to do to have happen. But Terry, I now have an outline of sorts for Trident.
Sacrilege!
I know. I wrote down all the goals. In fact, Captain Dunn gives us the goals in one of the damn scenes in the book. Here's by priority, this is the shit we got to do. And then, of course, none of that's going to happen.
Good luck with that. Have fun storming the castle, boys.
Right. So I know what their objectives are, and I know how to stop every single one of them, bring it to a halt, and force some kind of conflict or something else. The plan just to get thrown out the window. But I know what I need them to actually accomplish. So I know the objectives. I know the ones I'm going to sabotage, but I know they have to get this done now. Knowing that is enough to tell me, okay, well, this is how I need to move the pieces. So getting unstuck by basically figuring out what those scenes were and the things that I needed to happen basically has now rolled the book forward. So that's another weird deal where it just took a little while for it to click, and now it's clicking. It's like, oh, God damn it. Now I got to work on this thing till I can't anymore and then go switch to something else. But I want to get this thing done. I would love to give my patrons another Derelict book this year. Or a Derelict book this year, not another one. A Derelict book this year. As well as when Evolution ends, then I can put Trident in the podcast. So that's the plan. That would be the plan. Anyway, we should probably get to our topic today.
Yes, because as scatterbrained as we are, there's no telling what it's actually going to be.
All I wrote down, and I know I've had this title before, was a cornucopia of crazy. So obviously, when this episode was over, I had no idea what to call it. So that should tell you something. Anyway, I hope you stick around for the madness. Here we go. Oh, so I admitted to you last week or the week before that I was finally listening to Gillian Flynn's Gone Girl.
Mm-hmm.
Which will be the third book of hers that I've experienced. Holy fucking shit. This woman can write. My God. And then the Gone Girl is really two stories. They're intertwined, interbraided, but they're two completely different fucking stories. And one of them is told from a goddamn sociopath. It is amazingly well done. Amazingly well done. At first, I was kind of like, okay, all right, the guy's guilty of this, that, and the other. I'm not really connecting with this character. This is going to be painful. And I kept letting it string out because I've had that reaction to one of her characters in the past and I ended up loving the character. So I just let it kind of work itself out. I was like, okay, he's an asshole, but he's not really an asshole. And then you start seeing how he gets described by the other person. And so you start to get the feeling that two different things are going on here. Either he has a split personality or somebody is lying their fucking ass off. And
unreliable narrator, baby.
It gets crazy. Absolutely nuts. So I am enjoying the ever-loving shit out of it. It is just, I've loved every one of her books. So I definitely say if you want to write suspense, she's a really good one to read. No monsters, nothing like that. Just fucked up people. It's almost grimdark, but it's not, because these people are not so horrible that you can't see them as human. So it's not bad things happening to, or bad people have worse things happen to them. It's not that. It's just these are humans who are completely and totally damaged in one way or another. So it's kind of a different experience than, you know, the kind of crazy you have in something like Game of Thrones. But these are definitely people that you can detest very easily.
Talking about characters that have grown from their inception, have you ever watched any of Lucifer?
Yeah. Oh yeah, all of it. Well, all that's available.
They're starting. The next one's going to be on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
The next season, and it's interesting to watch where they pick it up, because now that the cat is literally out of the bag, I have no idea where they're going to go next. But Lucifer has certainly changed in some important ways from when he started.
Yeah, we talked about this.
He's still way self-centered, but there's a strange depth to his personality that he doesn't understand himself.
He's more self-aware. He just doesn't understand that he's getting more self-aware. He's finally understanding that there are repercussions, and the repercussions can really fuck over the people that you love.
The steps that he went through to keep Chloe from finding out who he was after all of this time wasn't about him, really. It was about her. And it was interesting to watch him maneuver and convince himself that he needed to do these things for his own selfish reasons, when that's obviously not the case.
No, those are the lies he told himself, because he doesn't understand feelings. That character is broken that way. It doesn't understand sincerity. It doesn't understand love. It doesn't understand excuse me, friendship. Except he does. If you look at the way he treats oh god, what's the demon's name?
Amenadiel.
No, the other one.
Which one?
The woman, the assassin.
Oh, gosh. I know we're talking about her name.
Chaz or something like that.
Her name will pop back to me in a second.
You know, he goes from treating her friendly in the first part of season 1 to treating her like a servant in season 2. And you just were waiting for all of that to shatter. And then when it finally does, you're like, okay, well, now it's on. Now he's got nobody. So, yeah.
She's a complicated character, too.
Yes, she is, because she's also discovering now that she's like really mortal, as in she's screwed. Because Lucifer's pretty much kept keeping her from going back to hell anyway. Yeah, she's got pretty much absolutely nothing to lose and everything to live for at the same time.
Watching her relation with Chloe and her daughter is always fun.
Yeah. Yes.
Chloe's daughter is awesome.
Yeah, that is wonderful. We're sitting there talking to, she's got like the whole bondage. She's got a guy strapped up in the bondage kit and the kid's home. Or what was it? There were like dildos or something hanging around.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Awkward.
Mazikeen.
Why was I thinking Chaz? What the hell's wrong with me? Maz. Because I call her Maz.
And the kid's name is Trixie.
Trixie, yes. First time I heard that name, I was like, okay, just by the name, I want a demon to eat her. Just by the name alone.
It's interesting looking at that show, how the ex-husband changed from season 1 going forward.
Yeah, he's less of a dunderhead dumbass in the first season, and then he becomes just like a comedy relief.
Kind of, sort of. He goes from being a villain to being something else. And
Yeah,
that's not necessarily to his advantage.
No, not necessarily. I kind of found that transition a little tough to swallow at first, but I just kind of let it go and whatever, you know? So, I don't know. It is what it is.
Entertainment can be complex. Some of the shows that are coming on are amazing.
Yeah, I know. I'm beginning to realize that some of them, well, I've always known that some of them are going to be fantastic. Usually the ones that get fucking canceled before they get a chance to hit their stride, which is very
Waiting for
unfortunate.
the next season of oh god, I've already forgotten the name of the show. The one that I recommended to you. Oh, the one with the chips that have your personality in it, sleeves. What show is this?
Altered Carbon.
Altered Carbon. I'm waiting for season 2 of that with bated breath.
Yep.
Surprisingly, I'm waiting for season 2 of Lost in Space. More interested than I thought I would be.
Yeah, season 1 was a pilot, so I don't know what they're going to do exactly. The entire season was a pilot.
Pretty much.
Which is a very interesting way to approach this. So I don't know what the hell they're going to do in season 2 either. I'm curious as well.
I like what they did with the pilot, although he wasn't a pilot in this series. He was a pilot in the original series. Major West was the character in the original series. Yeah. Don West in this is more like a mechanic.
Right.
But again, they had to make some adjustments because in the original series, Maureen was not exactly like a fly by the seat of your pants pilot.
No, she was a 50s woman.
Yeah, so they've moved her into the position basically that Don West had.
Yeah.
Or maybe they moved her into the lead position, and the husband is now in what Maureen's position or Don West's position may have been.
Well, remember the husband was also a fighter pilot.
Yes, and in this he's a Marine.
Yeah, I'm talking about in the new series. I don't remember him being that in the old series, but I don't remember the old series that well. But in this series, he's also a badass pilot. So they needed a freaking mechanic.
It's interesting to see how you alter a property like that because the characters no longer fit, and you've got to, if you change one, you've got to change everybody. Everybody's got to move around a little bit to get your balance back. Yeah.
And that's to be expected. I mean, if you're sitting there writing a book, and this has happened to me, I'm sure it's happened to you at some point. There is a character you kind of fall in love with, or there's a character you suddenly need for that particular point of view. Therefore, you kind of have to shuffle a few things around, maybe move some of the conflict between two characters. You have to move it somewhere else. Those kinds of things that you change just in your story can have a pretty big effect. It's not like you can just plop a character in and say, oh, this is our red shirt of the week. You can't really get away with that in a book.
I just realized we've wandered into an episode again.
I know. We keep doing this bullshit.
It's because we find topics that we hadn't thought about by talking it around. Now, you're talking about dropping a character in and not expecting there to be consequences. Anytime you change something major about your story, whether it's a plot point, a character and their skills, everything else has to change to adjust for it, because you can't just introduce something like magic and not have consequences. If you have somebody develop magic powers in the modern day world and use them, it's going to change things in a butterfly effect that you cannot even possibly imagine. But that's what we do as writers. We try to imagine the implications of a change and how they ripple out like a stone in a pond into the rest of the world.
Yeah, and then you have to decide how many people are aware of it. Are they trying to hide it? Is it like Harry Potter, where basically they're trying to keep the Muggles from knowing that it's there out of fear? Or Dresden, where they're basically trying to keep it on the down low as much as possible? Or is it a world where everybody has woken up to it and knows it's there, kind of like a Bright.
Yep, Bright.
So it those decisions radically affect how your characters are going to operate.
There's a series called The Hollows by Kim Harrison that I read. It's got a number of books in it, and it's a complete series. The arc is actually done with it. But the first story picks up with the supernatural world having been revealed to humanity at some point in the recent past. Basically, I think if I remember correctly, genetically engineered tomatoes killed off a bunch of people. And I know.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. What a bad nod. That's a bad nod.
But in doing so, the immunity of certain others was revealed. And not only were witches and elves and other supernatural beings, their entire communities were exposed by the change to the world. And so the world has changed to suit the inclusion of these people. So now the FBI has a division of witches that work for them.
Yeah, exactly. Vision of magic, whatever.
Yeah. And all the implications are, if you're going to reveal something big in the world, the existing organizations, the existing people, everything has to change to account for the presence of this huge change.
That's one of the problems I have with writing a story where the black is revealed to everybody, because suddenly everything changes. So if you don't hide it or find a way to hide it, then you have to deal with it in the open. And once you deal with it in the open, everything changes big time. Suddenly the stories are no longer about what the black is doing. It's about people freaking the fuck out because they know it's there.
There's a series about a shifter called Mercy Thompson. I don't remember the author off the top of my head, but I remember that as part of their ongoing thing, she's associated with a werewolf pack. She's not a werewolf. She's a different kind of shifter. But as part of the stories, as those go along, it becomes necessary for someone to reveal that the supernatural world exists. In contravention of all of the codes, somebody has to admit it, and they have to be the ones that step out and do so. So the werewolf pack that she is associated with reveals themselves to humanity. And the implications of that are still crashing around through that series.
Oh, sure. It's the same kind of thing you have to deal with. The world that you invented an Empire of Bones and everything else, once the normal folk, the new empire, so to speak, learn that the AIs are out there trying to kill them all, well, that kind of changes how you see the universe.
Becomes a little darker, becomes a little more threatening.
Yeah, and people start reacting suddenly, civilization starts focusing more on creating arms. And so it's going to change the way the society looks and feels. Because if everybody is suddenly, sparking up the factories to produce warships, people's lives are going to change radically overnight. So it's something to consider. Oh, God. Terry's mugging his cat.
She wanted her attention.
I know she wants her attention. But we're supposedly in the middle of an episode.
There's always room for cats.
There's always room for cats. The things I have to put up with from my co-host.
The complications of having things like that pop into your stories, I think that's the most exciting aspect of writing, when you introduce a change and you get to explore the repercussions that come out of it. Whether it be if you're writing a mystery and you kill off a character and it has repercussions to the rest of the story. I like exploring those kind of changes because it makes things exciting.
Yeah, and they can be minuscule. They can be minuscule where you left a detail that is going to go off later. And that will change how all the characters are moving through their lives when that little bomb goes off. And it doesn't have to be a particularly big bomb. It could be something as simple as a misunderstanding that leads to bigger complications and more craziness. So that will radically change how your characters deal with things afterwards too. I keep thinking of the Blacklist where they're hunting down the Russian guy, and the Russian bad guy escapes by cutting off his own hand. That's how he gets out of the cuffs, and that's how he gets out of the plane. And all the Russian prisoners are telling them he cut off his hand. They thought that they were talking about the Russian, when in fact it was one of the guards that did it. But it really wasn't, because that guard was really the Russian guy. He was that insane that he cut off his own hand to get out of there.
Well, wolves will chew off their paws, so
Exactly.
there you go.
Exactly. But the fact the fact somebody would do that, or have the mental fortitude and the will to do that, it says so much about the character.
It's like the guy that was hiking that got his hand caught in something and had to cut it off in order to get out of the desert.
Ugh.
I can hardly imagine being forced to make that decision, let alone carrying it out.
Yeah, mutilation is not normal. It is not normal. Our brains say, you're not supposed to do that.
Hello, sport. There's no walking that one back.
Yeah, once you do this, you're pretty much fucked. So make that decision, pal. Because you could cut that thing off and die from shock and blood loss and still be dead, just without an arm, and you spent your last 5 minutes in utter pain and horror.
Well, at least it's over.
But at least it's over. Ugh, yeah. Those kinds of stories suck. In my mind, they always end poorly. It's just,
It reminds me of something that J.R. Handley had asked on Facebook a couple of weeks ago. He was looking for information on how a body that was lost in the frozen wasteland might look when it's recovered a couple of months later. And it reminded me of a news story that I had read that back in 1999, I think it was, they found the body of a climber on Mount Everest that had been killed in 1924.
Holy shit.
And it had a picture in the article of the body pretty much half buried in the stone, basically laying face down with his clothes blown off you. His back was still completely intact. His flesh, though pale, was still there.
Yeah.
And
he's essentially got freezer burn at this point.
Pretty much.
So, you want to know what he looks like? Go put a steak in the freezer for about 3 months.
They found a body that they thought somebody had a terrible accident on a glacier. He'd been there for 5,000 years. It's true.
A little late to call the insurance company about that life insurance policy.
And he was killed by an arrow, but who cares?
Yeah, it's not important right now.
So I don't know where I was going with this, but how did I get onto this thing? There's something about something about cutting your arm off, cutting off your arm, and the nastiness. It's amazing how nature can present these things to you in shocking ways. The whole idea of finding a 100-year-old body, a 5,000-year-old body, just spooks the hell out of me.
Well, I mean, how about walking into a place like Pyramid of Giza before it was touristerized, walking through there with lamps, not flashlights, lamps. Just imagine how freaking creepy that was.
They're still finding secret passages in that damn thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They're never going to finish finding crap. And you got so many places where the sand literally buried all this stuff. And it may be that the stuff that hasn't been raided is very, very far down beneath the sand. But, so much was stolen. We'll never know half the shit that was in there. It's unfortunate.
It would be amazing if anyone ever found, a set of plans for building something like that, because holy cow, the things they did.
They would have been on papyrus, and in all likelihood, after that much time, they would be particles. That's about it.
It's a sad, sad thing.
It is. It's one of the problems the Library of Alexandria had, because the scribes would only write on papyrus. That was the way they did it. I don't know if that was Ptolemaic. I don't know if that was Ptolemy's order or what, but that's what they used, was papyrus. So I don't know. That, and it was abundant. It was everywhere, at least in Egypt. So go figure.
So with introducing complicated things to your stories, how do we as authors do it with malice aforethought?
Malice aforethought?
A lot of my complications, because I'm a pantser, come out of writing a scene and then going, oh, it would be really fucked up if I did this, and then doing it without a whole lot of forethought going on it. Then I get to deal with all the consequences and try to make them fit with what's going on. But some people want to plan how to introduce these. And actually, I guess it's sort of true. With Empire of Bones, I already knew what was going to happen to Princess Kelsey. It took to the end of the book for it to happen, but I knew it was coming, because it was the moment that made that universe what it was.
Well, I'm sitting here working on Trident last couple days for Derelict, before Derelict, and it's like, okay, what am I doing here? And I had basically the captain laid out his 3 objectives, and into my mind, I'm thinking of the 3 objectives that some of the other characters have that could cause friction between what the captain wants done and what they want done or want to do. So I've set that up, but regardless of that, I know that, okay, for them to get to where I want them to be, to accomplish these 3 tasks, that means they have to go to this part and do this. That means they have to go here in the station and do this. And that means they have to go here in the station to do this. Suddenly I have 3 places, 3 destinations, 3 areas where significant action is going to occur. Bing, bang, boom. That one complication is, hey, the power's out. What the hell do we do? Well, we have to kickstart the power. After we do a little bit of searching, we got to get that thing up first. So that leads to all the complications, and who the hell knows if the other 2 objectives will ever be met because of all the crazy that's going to be going on.
Shit, I know that I've set out objectives for novels and then come nowhere near meeting those objectives.
Yeah, or they change, or that thing we were trying to do. Yeah, that ship just blew up. So yeah, let's go to phase 2. You know that thing we were supposed to use to do this other thing? Well, that's no longer an option. Now what? So yeah, whatever plan you have, whatever plan they have that's foolproof, just, throw in the monkey wrench. Throw in several.
Just know, if you've got a foolproof plan, they'll build a better fool.
Yeah, the foolproof plan is awesome until it's being executed by the fools. Because execution turns everybody into an idiot at some level.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
It always does. So yeah, introduce the crazy, run with it, be gleeful, be very gleeful. Just remember, you can't be so malice aforethought that the reader just gives up.
You've got to leave a little bit of hope in there.
Yeah, you got to succeed every now and then. Before you make things much
sometimes
worse.
The success can totally shock the characters.
Sometimes the success is also a massive failure. So yeah.
Yes, it's a variant of that rule. Be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it.
Yeah, it's also the Dresden thing where it's like, oh, okay, I made this so much worse by trying to fix it. The complications are they're fortuitous when they show up, and you have those ideas like you're talking about. It's like, oh, how is that going to work? Oh, well, let's see. You make that mistake, and then suddenly you're, 3,000 or 4,000 words down the way of this particular line. It's like, I don't dare go back because I'm having too much fun.
If you're having fun, the readers are going to have fun too.
Yeah, there's going to have to be some things there. It's just, excuse me, those beats will come to you. Sometimes I know that I've had the experience where I kind of like peter out somewhere. It's because I cannot figure out how to make a scene work. And sometimes I get frustrated, and rather than doing what I should be doing, which is say screw it, move on to the next scene, and then maybe I'll know how to write that scene back. I get stuck, and then I move on to something else, and I come back, and then I realize, oh, this isn't a problem. This is easy to solve. What the hell were you thinking? Because I've forgotten exactly what the problem was. And when I discover it again, it's going to be like, oh, God damn it. Oh, wait, I already solved that by not doing this. Okay, great. Move on.
You know, I'm having that sort of issue going on with my writing right now. Over the last 2 or 3 days, I just haven't really felt like writing on the story that I'm writing. And I think I somehow lost track of where I was going.
Ah.
I got so buried down into the details of what they were doing that I have to step back and say, now, where is this leading me to? Because I think I've lost track of what I was heading for.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's also that situation where you have to, make a decision. Maybe you had the idea of making this huge battle or whatever else in this particular place, but it's just doesn't seem to be the right time. Well, jettison that scene out of your mind. Give your characters time to do what they do. Give them a little more information. Make things a little more ominous, but don't let the monster out of the box yet until it's time to start the weirdness.
I'm happy with the way I've got things divided up. I've got basically 3 sets of different actions going on, and I'm enjoying where they're going. I just need to tie it all together. I'm at about 40% of the novel.
The swampy middle.
I've officially entered the swampy middle. I need to get my ponies back together a little bit so that I can start herding them in the same direction. I still don't know precisely where some of the things are going to go, but that's the middle of the book. You don't know where things are going to lead to, but I at least need to start corralling him in certain directions.
Nay. Don't fence me in. Wow, that was bad.
Thanks for singing in today's episode.
You're very welcome. You knew it was going to happen eventually.
Mm-hmm.
You knew it. You knew it.
One of the things I like about books like the ones I'm writing now is forcing people that are not friendly with one another to work together. Them having at least temporarily shared goals that you just know that sooner or later somebody's going to stick a knife in someone else's back.
Yeah, you just don't know how far it will be in the back. Is it just stealing some supplies and leaving them high and dry on something, or making things inconvenient, or is it actively trying to kill them?
Yeah,
that depends on what kind of story you're writing, obviously.
I've got the main character working with someone that's been an antagonist in the past. Their shared goals will take them a little further along, but I've already proven that the other person is not shy about going ahead and throwing the main character under the bus.
Oh, that's a good thing.
So what does the main character do? Throws the other guy under the bus. Life is fun.
Preemptively?
Pretty much.
I'm going to screw you before you screw me.
Well, actually, the first screwing already took place. It involved all of these things. You were talking about things going on behind the scenes where humanity is not aware of it.
Yeah.
I had the one guy that's the bad guy, or he's not an antagonist really, but it suited his needs to go ahead and reveal the entirety of aliens and alien tech and all of this to the general public at large with no warning to the main characters that this was coming.
Oh.
So there are complications coming out of that. So I'm going to have the main character go ahead and throw him back under the bus by making deals and making him squirm for a while.
There's a lot of politics going on here.
There's a lot more politics going on than I usually do. I admit it. But it's okay. The guy is the Secretary of State of the United States. I figure politics are required.
Yeah, probably. Probably.
I don't know how long that character and the main characters will stay heading in the same direction. But it's fun to watch as the surprising and inevitable betrayal comes along.
You know, ever since I saw that scene, it is locked into my brain.
The shocking yet inevitable betrayal.
Yeah, we will call this land. If you don't know what we're talking about, it's in the pilot episode of Firefly. God, it's so goddamn funny. It is awesome. Or it's in the train job. I don't remember which. Anyway, yes, great scene. Wash is playing with plastic dinosaurs. A Tyrannosaurus and a Brontosaurus, if I remember correctly. It doesn't end well. Little
he gets
children.
The shaft.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Really?
Yeah, pretty much.
Really? Why?
Too soon?
Everything's too soon for you or with you or something. As Paul switches into his drawl. I don't know, Terry. I just don't know about you. You know, we did have a question.
Yeah.
That was fired at us.
Mm-hmm.
Which essentially came down to whether or not there is snobbery among indies toward traditionally published authors. If somehow there's the animus is switched.
I know that there is from some quarters. Just like there's some snobbery from traditionally published authors toward indies. But in reality, we're all authors. We shouldn't be talking trash about each other. We shouldn't be calling each other names. If you don't like traditional publishing, lay the blame at the foot of traditional publishing, not the authors that make their living through that. They're still storytellers just like we are. There's no difference. There's no daylight between us as far as what we do for a living. The differences that we're having between each other is the method in which we choose to publish. If you've got a problem with the way somebody publishes something, that's a problem with the process, not the person. And we've got a problem in today's society of making everything personal. Everything becomes a personal attack. And it's wrong. You can disagree with someone and still be civil. You don't have to hate somebody because they're different than you.
I think a lot of it comes down to you were assholes to us, therefore we're going to be assholes to you. I think there is some of that going on. Because remember at the publishing conference not too many years ago, they put all the indie authors in this special little in the kids' room, so they weren't out there to sully the names of the great authors that were at the conference.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, so there's still some work that needs to be done. You know, basically it's like, if you don't talk down to me, I'm not going to talk down to you. Chances are, if you're talking down to me, I've already ignored you anyway. But, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. If somebody chooses to go traditional publishing, there's somebody who doesn't want to deal with some of the stupid shit the indies have to deal with. And it may just be that it's right for them to go traditionally published, regardless of what we say or what us old fuckers complain about. Bottom line is that may be the right answer for them.
Maybe. Human beings, we just have to remember, are tribal. That's part of our nature. We congregate with like people, whether they be indie publishers, whether they be some other aspect of like, and we look at people from other backgrounds with suspicion. And that should always be looked at with a skeptical eye. Am I being, skeptical of this other person for the right reason? Or is this some type of bias that I need to go ahead and let the sunlight in on and say, no, that's not right. That's not right. We are human beings and we have these behaviors. It doesn't mean that we can't overcome them in the cases where we need to overcome them. And there's a lot of those.
Yeah, being shitty to someone just because they're different than you or choose a different path, it's not indies are writing more interesting stories It's not that their writing is better. Terry and I know of plenty of examples where that ain't true. But just because they decide to go a different path, and that world goes both ways. It's kind of like I constantly get told, or I see comments about the fact I need to hire a narrator because somebody hates my voice or whatever else. There's going to be people who don't listen to my stuff because I'm narrating it. There's going to be some other people who won't listen to my stuff unless I'm narrating it. It doesn't make any, either of them right. It just is a personal preference. And the same goes with the writing. You can think somebody's writing is terrible, but a whole bunch of people really like it. You may think their story is off the wall and completely bullshit and doesn't make any goddamn sense, and it will sell. It doesn't make it. It just doesn't matter. There's no reason to have some kind of animus to it because, like Terry said, we all are authors. We should be helping each other up, not pushing each other down.
If you find yourself disliking, hating, lashing out at a group of anybody, you should at least examine yourself to say, why? Why am I doing that? And try to understand it. Because you can't fix a problem if you don't realize you haven't. Now there may be some situations where there's an individual in another group that you absolutely have a right to loathe. There are some people out there that are shitty human beings that do shitty things, and you should loathe them. But you should never loathe a large group of people for any reason, because people are people.
This reminds me of the line from Justified. You wake up in the morning, you meet an asshole, you met an asshole. You meet another asshole, you met another asshole. You keep meeting assholes all day, maybe you're the asshole.
Sometimes.
Be self-aware. It's like having road rage when you're yelling at somebody and then 2 minutes later you do exactly the same fucking thing they did and you do not register the irony of that, or that maybe you need to cut somebody a break because they're fallible, just like you are. So, yeah, have some more fucking patience, people, in general. Don't be dicks. Life just too goddamn short to be a dick. It's very simple.
That sounds like a great place to head right out of this episode.
Yeah, probably. Terry and Paul discuss all sorts of crazy shit and then move on to something else. All right. With that in mind, I don't even know who to say who hosted this mess.
I'll let you claim it.
Oh, you'll let me claim it because you want to see if I'll screw this up. Well, if you want to talk to us about any of the topics we discussed today, you can email us at show@deadrobotsociety.com. You can tweet me at Paul_E_Cooley. You can also join our Facebook group with listeners of the Dead Robot Society, where all the crazy happens till we get Discord up, which may be coming soon. You can find us at YouTube at youtube.com/DRS podcast to see our ugly mugs. We have to thank our wonderful host, Pod Hoster, who makes all 14 bazillion episodes of the Dead Robot Society available for your ear holes. And if you'd like to support us, you can find us at patreon.com/DRS podcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you can get access to live shows, exclusive content, and other madness. And if you're at the $10 level, you get your name read. And this week's $10 patrons are Andrew Smallwood, welcome. JD Barker, Veronica Jaguar, The Secret World Chronicle podcast, Jack F. Erickson, Kelson Villain plus Event Horizon of a Black Hole equals Evil Immortal. I agree. Isabel Cushy, Rick PlayStation is an effing time suck Shaw. You were so right about that. Lisa Slack, Nathan Cosby, Cheryl Winters, Tracy Bodine, Devin Lee, Drew Extraterrestrials versus Thylarctos Plummetus Bernardi, Chris Winder, Andre Conde Moraes, DJ Chamberlain, and J.R. Handley.
Thanks very much for your support, folks. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you very much. With that, Terry, fun as always.
Fun, fun, fun. Till Daddy takes the T-Bird away.
Yeah, which is coming soon. With that, we're out of here. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.